Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And welcome to episode 15 of the Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast. I'm your host, Glenn, aka G Ransom. And today's panel discussion will be centered around the trials and challenges of raising children of color in America today. The discussion aims to provide an insightful look at the parenting methods and challenges of today's generation versus those of generations past, varying cultural approaches to child rearing in Western society, exploring the implications of race and gender, and whether the renowned adage, "it takes a village," still remains true. Does that village exist today? In this era of big data, social culturalism, and domestic extremism, is a traditional family unit at risk? So for that purpose, we've invited a guest panel of close friends and loved ones that are also parents of diverse homes to share their experiences with us. But before we delve any further, if you aren't already a follower or like to learn more about the show, then definitely check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at JJC Podcast, where you can stay up to date on our latest offerings, announcements, and join the JJC community. Now, if you know anything about this show, you know that we are the most cultured panel podcast in the world. And I attribute that honor to my brothers in bond and members of the JJC panel, starting with, first, the originator, D-Black, D-Ron.
What it do? What's good? Most diverse in the world, ready to step it up.
Next up, we have my man Chunks.
Hello.
So weird. So weird.
The charge up on the announcement. Next up, we have our man, the franchise Francis.
What's good?
All right. Next in line, we have Dre Pete.
You.
All right.
Best for last.
Of course, gotta say best for last. And for this part, I'd like to introduce our guest panel. And they are actually parents, or some of the parents of the panel. And feel free to tell us about yourselves when I call on you, such as, what you do, where you're from, and how the public can find you, social media tags, Facebook, up to you. And we'll start with Kimberly Williams.
Hey everyone, I'm Kimberly. I have one son. He is 4.5 years old. I am a teacher, social worker. I'm a soror of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and
Hey.
I made the choice to be a single mother.
Good. Speaking on behalf of the single moms, definitely. And next up, we have Mr. Kareem Sargent. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Kareem Sargent here, entrepreneur, father of 2 beautiful girls, 2 and 8 months. Yeah, I'm just ready to get it started, Glenn.
No problem.
I ain't gonna talk about myself.
Nah, it's all good, definitely. Just want to get some insight as far as your background, and I understand that's 2 years old and 8 months.
Yeah, 2 years
Sorry.
old, 8 months.
Perfect.
And what I do, yeah, entrepreneur. I have a vending route, so I have my own vending machine business, and do plumbing on the side too. Some construction work. You try to jack of all trades, master of none type thing. But
That's what's
yeah,
up.
the vending route was my bread and butter for many years.
All right, thank you. And then I guess on behalf of the panel and our guest panel altogether, how is everyone doing today? We know we got to do our wellness check before we get into anything else. How's everyone's weekend going? How's everyone's day started? How's everyone May into June period?
Bruh, I'm doing fantastic right now. I'm in a good mood. I submitted 2 assignments. I'm all caught up on school. Work is moving smoothly. Was able to deal with some resource and issues. I mean, life is in a good place right now. I mean, obviously COVID is still a thing, which you can't escape. But, at least for me in my little bubble, I'm straight. I'm good.
I would be doing a little bit better if the Lakers won today. Hopefully, Anthony Davis's injury is not a major one. We need to get the Suns up out of here. I'm really tired of every member on that team, especially Jay Crowder.
Oh, and actually, I'm doing good too because the Lakers did not win today. So,
oh wait,
wow,
aren't you a Celtics fan? Because I'm pretty sure they're getting smacked by Brooklyn right now.
Wow, we really having that conversation.
All right, so Francis, how are you doing? This is gonna go on for a little bit.
Man, I am exhausted, bro. So one of my good friends, he's in town from AZ, and when I tell you my boy likes to do everything, yo, he like got us out all day yesterday. And we got up this morning to go to a drag brunch. I don't know if you guys ever been to a drag brunch before. It's like drag show. First time going to it, it was really, really interesting. But it was fun. It was a good time.
So I guess just on the drag note, real quickly, I've been a fan of a new show on HBO. I'm not sure if you guys heard of it. It's called Legendary. Have you heard of that show yet? So basically. No. Are you familiar with Ballroom? Probably not. It's your first time going to a drag show. So. Well, Ballroom is basically like a Search for the Stars version of drag meets transition infused with choreography. I called it Jim Henson's Puppet Show and RuPaul's Drag Race combined, plus a little bit of America's Next Top Model / what's that, Voice. It's like a competition amongst different houses in Ballroom,
but in drag.
And in some of them are transitioned to like there's a whole nother vocabulary with it. It's insane, but
that sounds interesting. Yeah, that sounds.
Him and I have been partaking, and I just found it's very entertaining, and it's like nothing to do with your sexual orientation. You can just kind of like admire like the routes these people are going to be recognized, and a lot of them come from like hard backgrounds, and this is like they found themselves. So it kind of reminds me of like the early days of hip hop and any type of music or foundation that has a lot of minorities involved. Just a very rough upbringing. Right. It's captivating. I mean, everyone may not be into it, but I would definitely recommend that you check it out.
And I don't watch anything on Game of Thrones if it ain't Game of Thrones. I mean, on HBO, if it ain't Game of Thrones, I ain't watching it.
That's funny.
Well, yeah, this may not be your cup of tea, but I would say
but I would say like being like this is my first time going. I would definitely go back because the girls they killed it. Like I was over there throwing ones because they actually want you to give them money. So like I had like a lot of personal one-on-one with them because I had my phone out and they like gave me I feel like they gave me a show. Like a personal show amongst a bunch of people.
Out the nose.
Yeah, I was like, I got a wink. I was like, oh, you just winked at me? Well, girl, stop playing with me. Stop playing with me.
You feel all soft inside.
I was like, stop playing with me. But yeah, it was a good time. So, but yeah, it was a good weekend though. It was fun.
All right, so definitely. All right, so before we jump in our topic, we like to dedicate this episode's Rep Your Business Creative or Industry Pro to Mootson. Mootson is the digital storefront of NY-based artist, art mentor, and graphic designer, Avila Lemon. Mootson provides personalized clothing and apparel for men and women, as well as everyday items and accessories styled in Avila's original and unique artwork. Several items featured on the Mootson store are collaborative works by Oliva and her 11-year-old son. Use of vibrant colors and pop culture references definitely add a sense of relativity and exclusivity to each piece. In other words, they like to call it wearable art. Feel free to check out the Mootson store online at Redbubble at www.redbubble.com/people/Mootson, and that's MUTSUN, or going to redbubble.com and searching the Mootson store. You can also follow the artist Oliva Lemon on Instagram at WWOWW_EMGirl, GRL. So that's WowMGirl, and stay up to date on her latest moves and order custom work from her directly. And I believe she also has an art workshop program for children 7 to 10 years of age coming up soon. So definitely follow her for more information and details. And also a big shout out to Avila as well for being featured at Pottery Barn this past weekend on 67th and Broadway this past Saturday. So definitely a big up to you. So check her out. And now that that's been said, let's go ahead and jump into the topic. And I'll start off with our guest panel first, and then also deliberate some of these questions over to our host panel. And first and foremost, I'd like you guys to tell us about yourself and your family. Are you married or single? How many children do you have? And how would you define your current parenting style? And we'll start off with Kareem to start first.
Okay. I'm married, 2 children. Parenting style, I just try to take what my parents did for us and try to implement it, update it a little bit, and see how that goes. I mean, it's been working. Kids are pretty respectful girls. I mean, I can only really speak about the 2-year-old. 8-month-old is not really. She's just kind of crawling and moving around right now. But yeah, I just try to, use what my parents have brought to me and what my wife's parents brought to the table and kind of mix and meld it. Just heads up, like I'm in an interracial relationship, so creates another layer of like issues in regards to parenting styles and different techniques. But it has its ups and downs. It's pretty annoying actually, but it works. It works right now, man. Yeah, I had a rough weekend. It's like it was. I had a very. I mean, I'm sure Glenn told you about it, Kim. I'm sure he did. He did? He didn't tell you? Oh, you guys didn't know?
Well, if you want to elect to get into that, that's into you. But just for the understanding for our listeners, you're in a biracial. You have biracial children, and you're part of an interracial marriage, and you have 2 daughters, 1 2-year-old, 1 8, and
8
as far as
months.
it seems, 8 months, yes. And as far as it seems, the parenting styles can vary depending on culture and race, and we'll get into that as well. So from that point, we'd like to go ahead and pass the torch to Kimberly.
Okay.
Married, single, how many children, and parent style?
Well, I'm currently single, according to the IRS. I'm high key crushing on 1/5 of the podcast crew here. Hey, Glenn.
Damn, I thought it was me.
I was like, hey, D-Black, is it you?
I thought it was me.
Now y'all know good and well all y'all married except for one. Hey, boo. But I do have one child. He is 4.5, and his name is Ellis. And I would define my parenting style as allowing him to lead, and I kind of guide him, if that makes any sense. Like I said, he's 4.5, and he has a brain. He can speak, he can move, and I feel like it's up to me to just expose him and create opportunities and experiences for him to grow, to learn, to develop, to socialize, and to flourish into a young Black man today. And unfortunately, it's a bit challenging. I can imagine, even though I'm not a male or man, but I can see that it is hard being a Black man today. So all I can do as his mother is just, guide him the best way I can. And like Kareem said, just take the experiences that I had with my parents and make some modifications and make some changes. And like my parents, they gave the best that they did for me, they had for me. And that's my job to do the same for him. And so we'll see how that goes as he grows and develops into a little person.
Definitely appreciate that. And, that's definitely reciprocated. She is my girlfriend, for the record. Definitely trying to make something more out of that as well. So for all that slack I was getting on that married-ish episode, here it is. First person to bring their partner onto the podcast. Let's go.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
What a flex.
Yeah,
Can
I
we
think
drop
they
a
should
bomb
stay
here?
back.
Can we drop the bomb here?
Like, no, don't do that to yourself. Know your place. Stay there.
Just know that by doing that, you're opening yourself up to some very tough questions that the panel can ask you.
And I'm here for all of them.
Not for you, Kimberly. For Glenn.
Yep.
That's fine. I'm ready.
Yeah, not for you,
Nah,
Kimberly.
sis, nobody want no smoke with you.
Yeah, we don't want no problems.
We don't want no
100%.
problems.
We're good.
100%.
I'm
Back to
cool, so I'm
parenting.
ready.
Back to parenting. Let's stay on
Back to
track.
parenting. So I believe we have one other parent in the group, Chunky.
Yeah. So I have a daughter. Her age, none of your business. It's interesting being a parent and having to make the adjustments in essence. So we look at how we were raised as kids, and we try, like what Kimberly is saying, and what I will say Mr. Sergeant, because I'm gonna throw some respect this way, was saying.
No, you call me Kareem, man. It'll be all right.
Don't tell me what to do, Kareem. Okay.
Call you what I want to call you. I put as much respect on your name as I think is appropriate.
Exactly. But just kidding. It's tough. It's like we want to give our children or our child the best possible opportunities that weren't given to us. So when you look at parenting as a whole, my perspective is just that I'll take whatever was great that my parents did for me and use that. Whatever I disagree with, I'll take a harder look at it and implement things to fill in the gaps that I didn't have opportunities with. So as children grow up, I agree with Kimberly in the sense that it's all about exposure. Every parent has a different parenting style, and that's what makes the world great. So if every parent parented the same way, we'll have a whole bunch of like-minded individuals in this world, which doesn't produce anything great. So I take it day by day, moment by moment, and cherish every second that happens. And I don't forget where I came from. And it's going to be weird because how she's going to grow up, she's not going to have the same struggles as myself or my wife. So she's going to be a little bit spoiled, if not a lot of it spoiled, which is the goal, right? So we don't want them to have those hard times, but we want them to see what all their possibilities are and pick what they want and support their decision.
Man, definitely great insight from everyone there. And we'll be waiting for the great contributions Francis Dre and D-Back will be making to this earth. I'm claiming it now. I'm godfather to all.
What about
children.
You?
Oh yeah, that's coming in time. So.
Okay. That elastic waistband.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be elastic no more.
Gotta preserve it. They say men don't have biological clocks. That's a lie. Getting it in soon. So all right, let's get into how the decision to have a child or children was made. And we'll change up the order a bit. We'll start off with Kimberly. Being from a single parent home, I guess, how can you get into how the decision was made to have a child?
Well, at first, I was scared. Of course, we know the consequences of actions. And so found out I was pregnant at 7 weeks. And I was just like, Lord, what am I going to do? Oh, boy. So 1,000,001 thoughts just flooded my mind. And so it was an interesting place. So we eventually decided to keep it and not do anything crazy or drastic. But I also took into consideration what my biological mother did with me. I was adopted. So I said, well, I'm not going to throw my baby for adoption. I'm going to keep him. I'm going to be the best mother I can to my child, to our child. And yeah, so here he is, like I said, 4.5 years old, and he is a piece of work, just like his mama.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get to the next one. Kareem, how was the decision? I think that's probably like a mystery to a lot of people, right? Like, when do you know you're ready to have a child?
You don't know until it happens, and then it's kind of like on the job training. Because for years I said, oh, I don't want any kids. Why don't you want kids? Because I just don't. It's a huge responsibility. You're in charge of an entire life or lives, depending if you have multiples in birth. So I didn't want that. I'm young. I got pregnant at 28, had him at 29, and I had to make a huge pivot. I had my own home, so I had to stay for him, master's degree, I have a full-time job. So I felt like, okay, I can manage this. But I will say to all those mothers out there who think that they can do this by themselves, sis, it's hard out here in motherhood land, okay? So I definitely employ my village. I love them. I cherish them. The village is necessary. But no, back to your point, you're never 100% ready. Once you get into it, then you have to, you know what, we got to get ready, and you really don't know what you're getting into until you're in it. So I can say, like, there's no amount of preparation, because you can babysit children all day, but it's not your child. You give that child back. You give that child back. Every pregnancy is different. Every child is different. So yeah, you may know how to, make a bottle, change a diaper, change clothes, or what have you, give them baths and whatnot. But it's something different to have your own and actually have on-the-job training with your own child. So you're never 100% ready until it's actually yours and it's actually happening and you're in that moment.
Good point.
I agree. No, I mean, like for us, I wanted kids. I mean, went through the usual, not usual route, but like got married and then, she got pregnant on the honeymoon. Uh, so what we always kind of knew that we wanted kids. When probably second or third year we were dating, we had that discussion. So it was something that we planned for, and we were fortunate enough to conceive. And again, like as Kim said, like it's really just on the job training. No amount of babysitting in the world will ever pay you for getting up 2-3 o'clock in the morning to go change a shitty diaper or a wailing baby that you have no clue how to make like not cry. So that's like the hard part. Is like trying different techniques that, like I'm one of 4 brothers. So like I will call up one of my older brothers at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And if one of them pick up, they'll tell me, all right, like do this, try this, like, and eventually something might hit and the baby, she'll go back to sleep. And I could probably get like a good 2 hours solid sleep time until I get up and, because when babies are first born, it's like every 2-hour feeding time. And especially if you're breastfeeding, I mean, I felt horrible for my wife, waking up, breastfeeding, or, pumping nonstop and putting milk in bottles and waking me up to go feed the baby in the middle of the night. Like, I mean, I guess all parents have been through this, but yeah, it's really rough. But I would say that it's been the experience of being a parent and witnessing childbirth has been probably the closest I felt to like some type of like higher entity, a higher being. I felt like I finally found a purpose outside of like my own needs and stuff like that. So I felt like it was probably the closest I've been to being around or being in the presence of, God, so to speak. So that's
so
just
my uncle of the year don't count for nothing, basically.
Huh?
Nah, because all my nieces and I'll get like a little uncle of the year. They don't count for nothing. No,
you're part of the village. Oh, absolutely. So the parents absolutely cherish you. You're definitely important.
All right.
You are appreciated, my brother.
I don't cherish you.
I just want to hear
you nothing. Your
wanna
award
hear it.
means nothing. Put it in the
I
trash.
think-
It's garbage.
So I do have a question for the parents. So like, you guys kind of allude to like the struggle, especially in that early stage, because I know that could be mentally draining too, right? How do you guys cope with that? Like, what are some of the mechanisms and stuff you guys do to kind of stay balanced, to balance yourself?
So that's the thing. You need to have that balance. It's because it's team no sleep, at least for the first year or two until they, become sleep trained and all of that. And like Kareem mentioned, that breastfeeding thing is no joke. Ellis breastfed literally every 2 hours, and I was pumping when he wasn't feeding. I was up to breastfeed. I had milk in the freezer, but again, as far as like my partner was concerned at the time, it's like you have to try to create some sort of tag team balance because you're both going to be exhausted. We work. Well, at the time I was, on 8 weeks maternity leave, but still after the 2 months are up, it's back to work. So then I have to balance feeding Ellis, working, making sure I'm pumping while I'm at work. And as a breastfeeding mother, you have to sleep because it helps with the milk production. You have to eat because it helps with the milk production. Because when you start feeling all the stressors, it reduces your supply. So then now you can't feed your baby. So now you have another stressor on you. So back to your point, Francis, it's the balance of you have to tag team. And I feel like mothers, be vocal. Say what you need, delegate if you need to. Definitely speak up for what you need in this situation because it's not easy, especially with your first. I know, like I said, every pregnancy is different, but especially with the first, say what's missing, say what you need, say what hurts, say what's bothering you, say what's going well for you. Definitely give words of encouragement and appreciation to your partner because they're in the trenches with you. And so like sometimes some fathers may feel like, Dad, I can't do much, but, give a bottle and change some diapers and give a bath. Thank you. Give that bath. Read that book. We thank you. Yes, do it. Do it. Like, you know, the baby eats, sleeps, poops. Pick one of those things. Jump in, my brother. Let's do double dutch. Jump in. Jump in. Jump in. Trust me, like, you are appreciated. So especially those stay-at-home moms, this whole year, this whole stay-at-mom business was for the birds. I don't know how y'all do it. I commend y'all. But it's hard. So, you know, to have your partner in there with, like I said, in the trenches with you, feeding the child, bathing the child, getting the child dressed while you just get in the shower and wash your hair. I have locks, so this is a full process. Glenn helped me one time, and I'm like, listen, thank you. This is a lot, and it's long, so it's heavy. So just to have that extra set of hands just to help with the child is extremely helpful. And like I said, it's single parent home. I definitely appreciate my village. I'm truly thankful for all the help and support. So again, Francis, it's that balance, it's that communication. You know, you're both gonna be tired, and tension is thick when you're tired. Tension is heavy when you're tired. But again, that open line of communication to help. Hopefully that answered your question.
One thing that you said though, just to tag off you, Kim, that you kind of brought up that I don't know if everybody caught, but you talking about maternity leave. In the US we are by far one of the worst when it comes to this.
Facts.
You have to use the FMLA. You got 12 weeks unpaid. You know, when you have other countries, I think even Japan has, mind you, they have restrictions on like how many people you can have in your family, and they still have like at least more robust maternity laws. I think it's like 12 weeks or something like that, but it's paid. It's 100% paid. Versus, you know, Mexico, Australia, everybody has paid, but then in the westernized world, the US, we're like, you know, we're way behind. So
figure it out.
I think it's like 66% of the salary for maternity leave. And it's 6 weeks for vaginal and 8 weeks for C-section. So I had a C-section with Ellis. And yeah, it's tough.
8 weeks is not enough time.
Well, yeah, good point. I didn't realize this. There's a difference between the way you deliver the baby. I didn't realize it.
Absolutely.
That's new. Good to know. Interesting.
Exactly. So I guess, Chunky, did you have any?
C-section, boy, I was like, Jesus Christ. That was a huge.
Yeah, definitely need all hands on deck after a C-section, because it hurts to laugh, it hurts to cry, it hurts to poop, it hurts to sneeze, it hurts to do everything. So definitely.
Yes, Chunky, did you have any tidbits to add on that as well?
As with everything, I'm always the outlier. So going back to, we are fortunate. My wife was able to stay home. We planned that out. We actually planned out having a child, and I would say we were ready to the point of taking care of the child. So that's a little bit different. So on the job training is true, but we were very fortunate where we lived. We had the support from the hospital to teach us a lot of different things. Like, I don't know how it is normally, but we were able to like attend classes to teach us how to, like, you know, like, this is how your wife is going to breastfeed. This is what you can do as the supporting parent. This is how you swaddle. And that was just a misery thing of its own. So we just brought like swaddles that was just Velcro instead of just doing it, because it was just so much time consuming to do that. And yeah, all I did, I got up, I was like, do you need me to make something like cookies, milk? I don't know what to do, but I think just giving you support makes it easier for you. And like, yeah, so like, all right, I'm going to get up and change the diaper this time. I'm going to give her the bath. I'm going to do everything I need to do. So my wife had the ability to just relax. And yes, it gets kind of hard when you're both not sleeping. To caveat that, we were very fortunate because our child slept all night. So yeah, we lucked out. And like I said, I'm the outlier for that. We got our 8 hours of sleep. In the beginning, yeah, the every 2 hour feeding was a challenge, but when she got into the couple of months phase, it was just like, oh, okay, like she's actually sleeping through the night. And this is like, this is weird. Let me call my doctor to make sure there's nothing wrong. So when it's being a parent, you think you're ready, but you're not actually ready. I read books before my wife gave birth, I was like, I know what to do. Like, you know, give me the child, throw it over here. We're good. And pretty much like snap it. And as I caught her, it was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's just, like you said, figuring out like, all right, she's crying. My child's crying for whatever reason. I don't know what's wrong. It's not like the baby can tell you like, oh, my back itches. So the baby's crying because their back itches or their foot itches or like something really random, but it's like, what do I do? And then you're sitting there and you're mentally exhausted. You're arguing with your spouse or your partner. And that argument, you have to be extremely mature to understand like, okay, this argument is stemming from lack of sleep. So you don't really have a problem with me or the situation. It's just that you're getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, and it's been doing that for 7 days. So for me as a dude, it's challenging because I don't know what it's like for my wife to go through what she went through. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to say, you know, get over it. It's just like, I don't know the chemical imbalance that women go through when they give birth. So I'm not going to say, oh, I read this book or I read this article. It's like, tell me what you want and how you want it so I can provide it, just like Kimberly was saying. And to me, that was just a thing that I was trained on. I don't know whether or not my wife trained me to do that or I just picked it up over time. Either way, it's very important as a father to be supportive through everything. Okay, I'm going to go make the milk run. I'm going to go do grocery shopping. I'm going to do all of this. Whatever you can take off the plate, like Kimberly was saying, is what you need to do. I try to read books and like I didn't know how to make like animal noises with the books until my wife told me, was like, you need to make animal noises while you're reading this. I'm just like, she can obviously see the animal. Why do I need to make the noise? But to throw it to Kareem, like from one father to another, what was your most difficult moment in the stage of being a dad from when your daughter came out until now? Like, what is the thing that you struggle with the most, and how do you manage that?
That's a toughie. So as I said earlier, I'm one of 4 boys, and I'm West Indian, so I'm not sure if it happens to most West Indian families, but my dad wasn't really like, he was there, but he wasn't really like dealing with the kids like that. Wasn't really like his thing.
Pretty typical. I mean, in most cases, what's our stereotype? You have a million jobs. So when a man has a million jobs, how is he home to tend to his children? And essentially, that's also a flaw. But you know, this is your opportunity. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my pop he's a plumber, and you know, I mean, he's been plumbing for like 40 years. So like he was never really home growing up. So watching. Like trying to figure out how like not to do what he's done, if that makes any sense. And trying to figure out, like, again, I'm one of 4 boys, so like fighting, cursing, being physical has always been a thing. But like, and you know, I mean, one of 4 boys, like mistreatment of women was like a thing that was tolerated in my family. Like my father has multiple kids from like God knows where. So it's like the hardest thing for me as a father is trying not to be like my father, if that makes sense. It's like I'm learning now more so like I'm looking at other people's parents and kind of mixing and mingling it together to try to like make my style work. Like my mom basically played mom and dad, so like I would run to my mom about any like fatherly issues that I would deal with. So having girls especially has been difficult on my end because my mom was the only girl that we've had in the house for years. So like trying to find that balance of being compassionate, being sensitive, but not being too stern or overbearing, or like it's kind of like I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest with you. It's still a process, and I really can't holler at my dad about stuff about him being a father, because he would just say that, you know, he worked and he put food on the table. That was the extent of his involvement. So figuring that out has probably been the hardest shit for me. I mean, sorry, no cursing, right?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
No, I curse all the time. You're good.
He does.
Don't call anyone, a shithead. You know what I mean? So I guess, and I want to chime on something on that, because a lot of emphasis on raising a child successfully is placed on having that dual parent home. And basically where both parents are visible, mom and dad, or whatever the situation is, having both the support and, relay off of each other. But one of the conversations that Kim and I was having was also, looking at it from a single parent home, how do you overcome that dynamic? But you said something, Kim, very prolific in that discussion as well, as far as being a single parent in a dual parent home at the same time, as one you also echo on that as well.
Yeah, I mentioned that in our conversations about this earlier. You can definitely be a single parent in a dual family home because that one parent does everything. Even though they're married, they're together, they live in the same house, but you have that one parent who is making sure that, the children are cared for, food on the table, clothes on their backs, make sure everyone is bathed, homework is done, all of that. And in my case, I felt like I was doing that, even though, like I said, he's 4, but still when he was, a baby, like I was still doing all of that up until about before he was 2. His father and I had broken up, and I made that choice because I played the tape out and I saw that, I don't want to be in this relationship where I'm doing everything, but his father is right here and I'm asking for help. Hey, can you, read him a book? He told me no. Hey, can you, at least get him dressed in the morning? Oh, you get up too early. Okay, but you're asking me what you can do to help me, and I'm telling you what I need you to do, and then you're refusing it. So you know what? I got it. And so in my mind, I'm saying, you know what? I'm doing all of these things by myself. I might as well be by myself. So you know what? When are you leaving? Okay. And that's
notice.
And no, seriously, and that's how I approached it. He's Jamaican, yeah. And so,
do you think it was like a level of like maturity? So, not to be rude or disrespectful, but to be rude or disrespectful, some men aren't mature. So having a child makes you push out a lot of maturity and a lot of responsibility. It's tough because you can, as a man, and I'll speak for myself, you're telling me what to do, I'm going to feel some type of way if I'm not mature enough to understand like what you're telling me is actually beneficial for the collective. So,
but hold on, this is his 3rd child. So I feel like I was but hold on, I feel like I was low-key bamboozled because I saw how he interacted with his other 2 children. And I said, okay, he's present, he's there, he's supportive. But then now with this 3rd one, I'm asking to do a few things. I understand you work all day. You're a private chef as well. You have a business. I get it. You have a lot on your plate as well. However, you have a 3rd child who's also a baby, an infant, a newborn. So I feel like you should be able to help assist when you can, if you can. And then, if you can't, then you know what? I got it and you can go. And so that's why I said I made the choice to be a single mother, because I didn't want to be in a relationship with someone who was not going to be a partner, who's not going to be an assistant, who's not going to help me with raising our son. So I said, you know what? I got it. And I find that now with our arrangement, he sees his son on the weekends. That's more time that he sees his son on the weekends than when he lived here. So I would rather.
I love the fire that you're breathing. Just don't breathe it on me because I didn't ask for it.
You
came out the gate hot, and I was.
I'm just speaking on my experience. And
don't get Chunky going.
I know how Chunky goes. And I'm here for it.
So I think we can all say that, it did attest to some level of maturity, and I think Trey had a point as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, Kimberly, I really think that was really, obviously you did what ultimately was the right thing to do. I think oftentimes what some parents will do is they will not make those type of decisions thinking that it's going to be better for the child to have both parents in the house. And so I think that's something that I don't think enough people do, kind of take that, because how good of a mother can you be if you're stressed about that whole situation, right? What are you teaching your son by being in that situation, right? So that's one of those things where I know it's difficult, right? My parents got divorced when I was in 8th grade. So I know that there's kind of that whole dynamic of that, of like knowing when to leave or when to stay, and those type of things. And obviously there's no like rule book to any of this stuff, but I do think that's a really important thing that any parent can do, is make sure that like you're in a healthy relationship, because your kids are going to notice those things no matter how old.
He has a front row seat.
Potentially like for you, he's the first woman he's going, you're the first woman that he's going to love. Kareem, your daughters, you're going to be the first man that, that they love, right? And they're going to be, looking at those things, right? How you treat their mother, right? How you treat other women, and that all that stuff is really important. So again, I don't have children, so I think it's really easy for me to say like leave, but
no, that's valid, Dre. Dre, do not discount what you know. It's valid. Okay.
Yeah. So I have one more question for you guys, because I'm over here just taking notes. Right. So
make sure you put exclamation points behind what Kimberly says to reinforce her statements.
Yeah, 100%. No, like, okay, so you guys kind of also mentioned the tension between the partners, at least for the people who have both partners there. So how do you guys manage the disagreement and the fight? Like, I know, like Chunky, you talked about, kind of being there to help your wife out, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of like, going doing grocery shopping and stuff like that. But in the middle, like, how do you guys like this escalate, those situations when it comes up, or even before it does?
Take the loss. To be honest with you, and Kareem, at any point you can disagree. So what I did when she was upset or had a moment, it's just like, it's no point in arguing, because like I said, the argument's not directed towards you. It's more so that she's going through what she's going through. And it takes a lot to understand that she's not chemically balanced at the moment. That's not to be disrespectful, but when you understand that, it's just like, okay, cool. Like she just gave birth to a child. So how it was before that is not how it is now. And it will take her time to get back to normal. And that time is dependent upon her body. So let's say my wife got mad at me for like having a remote on the counter instead of on the bed. It's not about the remote. What it's about is just that there are things going on, and there are things firing in her mind that she doesn't have true control over. So she's trying to express herself. And that's all it is. Like, the more she can express it, the better it becomes. If she wants to yell, go ahead and yell. I'd rather you yell at me than get upset when you have to get up at 2 a.m. I'm behind her at 2 a.m. not to see what she's doing, but like, hey, can I rub your feet? Can I rub your back? Oh, you need me to go run and get this diaper? Oh, we're out of diapers. I got to go to the store at 3 a.m. Cool, whatever. Like, I got this. Or do you want to leave the house so you can get time away and do what you want to do? And that's the thing. And it pays dividends. So it's just that understanding. And back to Kimberly, it's just like, it's the maturity of a man, right? It's just like, I'm never too busy for my own child. Now, will there be times where I can't be there because I'm doing something in order to support the family? Yes. And that's understandable between both parents, and that shouldn't really be an argument. But once again, it's having that conversation like, oh, okay, you want me home at this time? Okay, I'll be home at this time as often as possible. And when those arguments start, just understand, like, it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. It's like day 86, no sleep. So it's just like, whatever. I don't even know what we're arguing about anymore, but it's the baby. Okay. Yes. All right. Take a nap. And then sometimes you can just stay up a little bit later for, your wife just to sleep a little bit longer. That 20, 30 minutes, I'm telling you, makes a huge difference. And I noticed that. So it's just like, all right, I got watch. I'll stay up. Meanwhile, I'm playing video games anyway. So it's a twofold situation, but I'll let Kareem or Mr. Sargent come back on some things. There's some things I'm pretty confident that he knows more than what I do.
On, man. Ain't really much for me to say. You better do it than me, man. I'm learning as I go. How not to argue, still learning that. Argued yesterday, still learning. Issues in regards to helping my wife with the babies in the middle of the night, obviously is something I'm good at. Like what we worked out was I would like stay up to like 4 a.m. and I would bang out like that feeding, like the 2 to 4. I would bang out that feeding, and then she'll get up at 6. Like, we both wasn't working. like I had paternity leave. Well, I mean, I worked for myself, but like I wasn't working for like a month or so, and then she had her maternity leave. So like I would just stay up. So it's kind of like a night shift, day shift type of thing. So like that's how we worked it out to try to alleviate her burden. Have I ever rubbed on my wife's feet? No, but I've massaged her back.
Close enough.
I mean, it's to each his own, right? It's whatever works for your marriage.
Definitely
So.
close enough.
There was some contact.
I'm learning as I go. In regards to like, I mean, we get into stupid arguments all the time, but again, like because I'm in an interracial relationship, some of those arguments are like race related or like different approaches that she might take to a certain thing that versus what I would take. And then some of those things are just like.
So let's jump into that a little bit, Kareem, if you don't mind. Now let's get, I think we already hit the head on the, management of time and hit the nail on the head, hitting the head somewhere. Well, hit the head could also be using the bathroom, I understand.
I was thinking something completely different. I was like, is he about to go into some rubber waistline shit?
I understand, yeah. So
you never know with Glenn, man. You never know with Glenn.
You never know. All right, so D, go ahead, fire off your question before we get into the race implications, especially considering the climate that we're in today in America. Go ahead.
All right, cool. I promise just one question, because of the fact that like I think like maybe I don't know if we're gradually going toward a theme with some of the episodes that we dropped, but because we talked about racial gender dichotomy, between male female roles, and now I feel like there's a little bit more expectation, just from Kim, what you were saying, that the man is supposed to has some expectancies, and Chunky's resonating that, Kareem's resonating that. So then, with previous generations, right? Just something that Kareem said that really stuck out to me, because my dad was the same way. Like they really don't get too involved with the kids, at least on the male side, right? So, but I don't know. There's no part of me that's going to turn and look at my dad and say he was a bad father, But he wasn't involved with me, you know what I mean? But my mom, I give, again, first of all, I think it's more kudos to the women, because that means they were able to handle so much. But does that take away because like maybe that's how they were taught to be fathers? Or are we trying to say that the expectation of being, a father and a husband has changed in the sense where, like, obviously, everybody has the ability to work and provide for the family, but if one person is the sole provider, doesn't mean that they can't contribute, but is there still that same level of expectation where they have to be, staying up crazy hours, doing all those things? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, does the expectation shift? That's my question.
I guess with my expectation for my child's father stemming from my experiences with my own dad. He was present. He worked third shift, and he still found time to have dinner with us. He found time to go to church with us. We traveled together. So it wasn't just my mom present, even though, yes, he was, sleep during the day most days, but he still made time to spend time with his family. And so I saw that balance. And so I thought I saw that balance with my son's father. And then when my son came along, it was like a bait and switch. I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. What happened? What's going on? And so, yeah, the expectations were there, and I thought I saw them, and yeah, I didn't. They were gone, disappeared.
So you had expectations, but they just weren't being met.
Exactly.
But then, okay, but I guess again, that's part of, you had preconceived notions. You had a mindset of what you were expecting, right?
Right, because of my upbringing in my childhood, because my dad was present. Like I said, even though he was working, my mom was working as well. But again, they had a seamless, operation with raising me. So I already had my views and my expectations of what I wanted my child's, father to be. But at the same time, I didn't wake up and say, oh, yeah, I want to be a single mother when I grow up. No. Yeah. But again, when I was faced with that decision, I just took the lesser of the evils. And I said, you know what? I would rather do this by myself. And even though I can't speak to, raising a black male, like raising a man. I can't tell him how to be a man or show him how to be a man, but I can show him how to treat a woman. And I think I'm doing a pretty decent job. Not too long ago, we went to ShopRite, and he wanted to buy his teacher pink roses. And because of the conversation his teacher had with him, oh, my favorite flowers are pink roses. Mom, my teacher said she likes pink flowers, not just pink flowers, but pink roses. He was very specific. So I was like, okay, well, let's get your teacher these pink roses. So anytime Ellis has a moment where he wants to express himself and show love and affection for whomever in a very, friendly way, I have no problem financing that. But and that's what I said, I can show him how to just treat a female, period. So because I feel like that gesture, even though it's towards his teacher, can then translate to future relationships that he has as he gets older.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So that's a very good point. Or maybe he might become a young rubber waist fan, man. Gotta start somewhere. Kareem, though. Sorry. I want to hear Kareem's take on that. Sorry, is it okay?
Yeah. So definitely, I guess to get back on it, thanks everybody for your points. As far as the dynamics, as far as race and gender, and especially Kareem, your situation is an interracial marriage. How important what is the topic of race, I guess, in your home, or how do you guys explain race or gender in your home? Or has that been an issue yet? Or what are your plans for discussing that, considering the climate of America today?
Yeah. D Black, I really want to get back to your question, but I like your question too, Glenn. There's no possible way for me to do both. I know you guys want to move forward, so I guess I'll just rock with what Glenn was saying. In regards to race issues, we really haven't, like for the kids, we haven't really dealt with that yet. My daughter's 2, so like now she's like into, like what I've tried to do, like I've done my best to like try to show like powerful figures to her, like powerful Black women that like I know that once she gets into school, she's not going to see any of this stuff. So I purposely am focusing on figuring out like Rosa Parks. Like she knows that, like I could teach her that, or like I mean, my wife is white, so I'll cover like Eleanor Roosevelt, which has done a bunch of stuff for like the New Deal, and I would cover like Gloria Steinem or like Harriet Tubman and stuff like that. Just so like she asks questions like, oh, who's that? Like my mom babysits a couple times a week, so my mom always wears like some shirt that she got from somewhere, but it has like a picture of Michelle Obama, Oprah, and like a bunch of different Black women. And my daughter will go and point to like, oh, like who's that? And like it's just having those conversations with her so that she sees people of color, and she is not always in a negative light. If she watches TV, anything like that, like that's usually what they would push. So try to show like positive light stuff too. And again, she's only 2, so we kind of keep her media consumption to like PBS Kids, or like not really so much. She likes a lot of Disney stuff. Probably like this week she's really been into Disney. But we've been watching like Moana. She likes Moana. I haven't gotten to like Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that. I didn't want her to see like white cartoons. I was kind of nervous about that. Me and my wife had a discussion about that, because like when she grows up, she's gonna be considered, like they're gonna know she's mixed with something. So like I kind of wanted to ride the fine line of keeping her focused more so on things of color. And like Glenn had brought my daughter a little Bob Marley hat, so like I haven't listened to nothing but reggae music at this particular point. Like that's I don't even like no rap or nothing is in my car. Like it's strictly just like reggae for kids. Cause I don't know, like the vibe in the music, I think it gives more of a positive vibe to them. Like she always just seems a little bit more happier listening to that type of music. I don't know whether the drums or the steel pans or whatever, but like she's a big fan of like Calypso and Burning Spear and Sparrow. So like that's kind of where I'm angling her, and I plan on angling my younger one more towards that field so that they could learn to appreciate being women of color at some point. And my wife is on board with it. In regards to like on her end, we've really tried to, I mean, I'm not sure what the grandparents do on her side, but we've had conversations at home all the time about we're going to try to steer them more towards on my side because they're going to morally, you know, hair texture or skin complexion, they're going to more, like if they go to an all white school, they're just going to be the outliers. So I really want to make sure that like we steer them towards positive angles on people of color.
So Kareem,
I think Dre had a point real quick
Okay.
to make on that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, obviously, I don't have children, but Kareem is someone who's my father's Black, my mother's Puerto Rican, so I kind of grew up kind of you know, I won't have some of the same, I guess, challenges that your children will have. But one thing that was really helpful to me that my father did, and again, totally up to you on how you incorporate it, but the one thing that my father always kind of made clear to me and my sisters is that we're not like half of anything, right? So, you know, we're not half Black or half Puerto Rican or whatever, which was really important, at least for me growing up, right? To have that identity, right? That you can be more than one thing at one time, right? You know, to some people, they're going to see them as they're Black, right? To some people, they're going to be like, you know, you're not Black enough or you're not white enough, right? You know, there's going to be those type of things. Just my biggest thing is exactly what you're doing is really great. And I think the biggest thing is just like making clear to them that they're not like half of something, right? They're, you know, they're whole, full beings, right? You know, people can be multiple things to people, right? And there's no like half anything. So that's the only thing that I would say just to, that was really helpful for me growing up, was like that being clear, right? You know, I see myself as a Black man, I see myself as a Puerto Rican man. I don't really see myself as like half of anything, right? That whole mindset of being half of something, I think is like a really kind of dangerous thing that some people do. With that, like literally you're a person, right? My father is this, my mother is this, right? The father always said best of both worlds. He always would say those type of like phrases and things like that, which was really helpful for us, you know, growing up. So that's my my advice.
I think you had a point on that, D-Block.
Yeah, I guess my only question was just, I don't know. I think, and Dre kind of spoke to it a little bit, you know, making sure that they know they're not half of nothing, but half of any ethnic group, that, you know, that they are whatever. I mean, they are who they are, right? But the thing is that having any form of, you know, Black in you, you know, there's, you know, the one drop rule kind of stuff, and then the world will always kind of perceive them as Black, right? And we have an understanding that, you know, being Black in America has its own level of challenges. So I understand that you're showing your kids, you know, different Black historians and things like that. But like, at what point is it important to, and I'm just asking just out of curiosity, but at what point do you have to sit down and be like, okay, this is what being Black in America truly means. These are the things you have to worry about when you talk to an officer. This is how you approach that situation. At what point do you have to have that conversation?
So real talk, I am doing my best to avoid that. Like my end goal, I don't want to stay in America. Like I would rather raise my family like in the islands where like, I mean, well, the island I'm looking at is like Aruba and Curacao. Those are the two islands I've really been looking at because most of that population is biracial. So that's a concern that I have as a Black man, and I don't really think that America is gonna be like having the same conversation over. Like each generation has had these conversations, or whether you grew up in America or whether your family has immigrated here. There's always issues with police. There was always issues with levels of poverty or institutional racism. So I'm doing my best to kind of stack my little coins and
Mhm.
get the hell out of Dodge, so to speak.
Real. It's
And
real.
so like I know like if I were to try to raise my family up here, that would be a conversation I would have to have.
Mhm.
But I'm like, again, I'm trying to stack and get out. So I don't want to have that conversation with them because I think is over too many years that Black men and Black women have had these conversations with their kids. And George Floyd just died last year.
Mhm.
So like nothing's really changed that much from say Emmett Till to George Floyd. So like, do I really think that America is going to change in the next 16 years, 18 years when my girls are now entering their first year of college? I don't think so. So I want to get out, and then if they choose to come back here later on after they do university somewhere else, I'd rather them deal with that at a different point if they choose to come back.
So one thing I wanted to ask you was, there was a key thing that you said to me was interesting. You looked at it in the sense like you didn't trust the public school system to teach your daughters about, Black women or
Yeah.
about Black history. So the question I pose to you, and I will follow up on it, is just that you can affect that change. So we as a society can tell the school what to teach. Another thing that struck me that what you said is just that, as a personal opinion, you don't think America is going to change, but America has been changing. We have had a Black president. We have a Black female vice president. So there is progression. It isn't progression the way that it should be, but I'm pretty confident in the next 20 years that it'll be completely different. Speaking of which, like having a biracial child is something I think is truly amazing for the simple fact that they can walk on both lines. They can integrate with Black kids and they can integrate with white kids. People are going to be prejudiced or racist no matter what we do. And to me, it's walking through that makes it different. So explaining to my child, it's just that you're a lighter skin complexion of Black, and it's going to be a challenge because people are going to look at you a different way, but that's okay because that's what makes you who you are, and being who you are gives inspiration to somebody else. So for me, I don't think leaving to me is a good idea because it sounds like you have a lot of amazing qualities that America needs, and that your children will have those qualities, and people will miss out on those abilities that you're providing to them. I'm just not a strong component of running from anything, no matter how challenging it is, and that's just me of my personality. And I'm not throwing that on you, and you do what's best for you. But I'm trying to implore you that there is a benefit, that there is an end goal, that as parents we want to give our child the best opportunity and not for them to go through too many levels of adversity, but that levels of adversity make them the people that they grow up to become and influence others to see through that. And I say just stick with it and just stick in it. I'm going to be completely jealous if you get up out of here and go to an amazing island. I'm like, damn, I'm still stuck in America dealing with this shit. But nonetheless, it's just like, we all have our benefits and our reasons of being here. And I think America will turn the corner, but it's not within the next 10 years, no. But I think within the next 20, it will be a lot better.
Let's add to that then, because would it be fair to say that everyone's been saying since the history of time, since the struggle, that 20 years from now things will change. Another 20 years from now things will change, and essentially how many more of our leaders will have to die for that change to come? Because it just, just to add a point to it, and I'll jump to Kim on this one as well, because I think this one impacts her directly as well. Being a single mom raising a son,
raising a Black man,
we've been targets essentially this last year, and honestly, racial tensions only increased the last time we had the first and last time I always say we had a Black president. Those 8 years, racial tensions actually increased in America. So it's just like the more Black people, it's a good show, but are things really changing? And that's a part of the problem. So that's where people are. I wouldn't say it's running, but to be tactical with it. There's a lot you can learn from other countries as well and bring that back. But once again, that's a choice. But I guess let's roll that over to Kimberly as well so we can hear from her as far as some of her concerns with raising a Black boy to a man in America as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenging task to do. And actually, I had a moment maybe about a few months ago during a normal school day. He was on the computer, and his teacher told me something about maybe he wasn't listening or something to that effect. And I was trying to impress upon him, like, look, Ellis, I understand, you're 3 or 4. It's really important that you use your listening ears. I'm talking to a 4-year-old here, that you use your listening ears, because these moments here, they help build your character, your personality, and who you become as you get older. If you have a hard time listening and following directions right now, and mind you, the directions are simple. He's a very intelligent little boy, but my dad was sitting right here next to me, and I went on to say, just because it was the height of George Floyd and everything, and I just got so emotional with him, because I said, as you get older and you're out in the world by yourself, I said, mommy's not going to always be there to help you and protect you. So it's really important that you listen to mommy now, even though, I'm not going to be there. At least I know within my heart of hearts that I did the best that I could in raising you to be a respectful and a decent young man. And I just felt the tears just well up in my eyes, because we have too many names, too many hashtags, too many names. And it hurt in that moment, because I see my son, 4 years old, innocent right now. And then as he gets older, he's going to be a target. He's going to be considered a threat. So I really don't know what it is that I can do, but what I'm doing right now to protect him, to keep him safe, and just with hopes that he makes the best decisions, keeps a great circle around him, circle of friends around him for positive influences. And I just hope and pray that he's always in the right place at the right times. And that's all I can pretty much hope for his future, as he gets older and he's like not in my eyesight.
So,
Great.
yeah.
Go ahead, Kareem.
Real quick. So, Chunky, to answer your question there, so the reason why I'm looking to get out is I've over the course of time, I've changed my paradigm on what America is. America is a transient nation. So, like, again, my parents are immigrants, so they came up here for a better opportunity to find work and buy a house and, send their kids to college and stuff like that. And talking to my mom maybe about a year ago, 2 years ago, she said something that stuck with me. She was like, if this was 1983 when I came up here, I wouldn't come up here. Like I would either stay in the islands or I would find somewhere else to go. I think that the problem is that, like, I think that, like, the same conversation Kim has just displayed, that she said she was talking with her son about, like, paying attention, and then, like, at some point he's going to be deemed a threat. I'm sure that her father's parents had the same conversation with him at some point when he was a young kid growing up, and maybe his grandfather before, and so on and so forth. So I've come to the conclusion that the beauty of America is that you can come here and make an enormous amount of capital. This is a capitalist society. So I can't remember who said it earlier. I think one of you guys alluded to, damn, I can't even remember right now. But I believe that, like, you could come here and make a ton of money. Again, like, Mark Zuckerberg is a billionaire. Jeff Bezos is a billionaire. Robert Smith paid off for all of Morgan State. So, like, you could come here and make a killing in regards to capital, but being treated as a human being, as a Black man in America, I don't think has happened ever. Like, it just hasn't happened. So do I want to have my kids go through the same issues that have been perpetual for the past, let's say 100 years? I thought what Jim Crow was 1950. So let's call it 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want her to go through that, or, America again was built on 400 years of racism. Like, nothing to me is going to change in 20 years, so to speak. No offense, but that's just my take on it.
No, all offense taken, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I think
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I think whatever you decide to do with your family, you got to do what's right, and I definitely commend you for that. I guess my only thing would just be, they will have. I'm assuming your wife has siblings or family members here, so they will potentially have to come back here, and I think it would be really important, or it could be helpful to your children to be as prepared as possible when they are here, right? Whether they don't grow up here or whatever. So I would say, I would implore you just to rethink that over time on kind of what you decide to teach them, even if you decide to move, because they can come back, right? To your point, I think you would want them to be as prepared as possible. And I think you would want them to learn at least what right? Your experience versus them having to learn from like someone else, or, unfortunately maybe being in a situation where they're not prepared. So I would say just probably, I know your children is what, 2 and 8 months. So you have some time, so you're not in a rush. But I would just say, just maybe rethink that. Like, I think you're probably going to have the conversation, whether no matter what, I think you're going to have it, right? No matter where you are in the world, there's going to be these type of dynamics, right? You still have the other side of the family that you're always going to have to deal with that dynamic, depending on what the situation is. So I think you would want your daughters to be like as prepared as possible. Sometimes the stuff from family is worse than society.
You don't even know that. Well, I guess you actually do know that.
Yeah. So just being very, very careful of that. I mean, before I was born, my parents did not want them to be together. Once I was born, everyone loved me and all the families are together and everything's fine. But there was that like weird thing of like, no, don't, this is a bad mistake and all this other stuff. But yeah, I would say it's up to you to really make sure that your daughters are as prepared as possible. Because again, you can't control family, right? That they're around, right? Those type of things. They need to be prepared. They need to know, no, you will not use these words towards me. No, you will not treat me this way, right? I think you really need to have them be as prepared as possible, but obviously you don't want to like ruin their innocence, right? You don't want to, and I'm sure how much harder it is with daughters, right? than I would assume with sons and those things, right? So I don't know, it's just something to think about.
I think Chunky, you had a point to add on there as well.
Oh, Kareem, like I agree with everything you're saying. I don't disagree with you. I just pose challenges. I'm gonna come at your neck because this is who I am, and me coming at your neck isn't a disrespectful thing, but it's to have you see, the other light, like what Dre was saying. There are key and important things. For me, yeah, but I'm gonna I'm the type of person to pick up arms in a situation. I'm the bull in the china shop. I'm gonna go through it and I'm gonna make shit happen. And the reason why I look at it that way, because that's the way I was pretty much raised and brought up by, a single parent like my mother. Like she didn't step down to anything. So that's with ingrained in me, and I cherish that value. And everyone is different, and your approach is different. And I appreciate your approach for the simple fact that it can help me think better throughout certain situations. Because if I'm thinking something like, all right, I'm going to knock your door off its hinges, but you're telling me there's a more sophisticated and tactful way of doing it, that's going to make me even more lethal and to be able to teach my daughter more things. When we look at America, yeah, I see progression. And once again, I don't see the progression the way that it needs to be, but we're a little bit further than we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30, 40, 50, even since 1965. Like we're making that progress. The unfortunate thing is that you can't, or no one can make that progress over centuries of hate and disrespect. I don't think that's going to happen in a matter of 30, 40 years. I'm going to be realistic, but the more you stick into the fight 200-300 years later, which sounds far out, but that counters what happened hundreds of years ago. And that's the way I look at it. It's just that you can't get what you want by walking away from it. You have to stand and hold hands and go through it together. I don't believe in turn the other cheek. I believe in you're going to hold hands. You're going to create a fence line and you're going to push it forward. You're going to have people to digest the information that you're giving them. You're going to put them in uncomfortable conversations to make them realize what's going on. And I'm going to teach, my daughter about being black, a black woman in America. She's going to have it super hard for no reason. and that's the jacked up thing about it. But the thing is that what Dre's saying, I'm going to equip her with that knowledge and capability. Also, equip her with that sophisticated mindset that you also have, and what Kimberly also have. It's just like, okay, this is what's going on. This is how you're going to react to the situation. There are times to stick the dagger through someone's chest, and there are times to be diplomatic and discuss the situation. And she has to learn that over the course of her life, even though I can teach it to her. And I think that's super beneficial. It's just that handling that level of adversity makes them the greater person. And correct me if I'm wrong, as a parent, we just want our child to be greater than us. Mm-hmm. So let's not strip away those opportunities for adversity, because that's what gets them above what we are. And then they'll be teaching lessons to us while we're 60 and 70, like, damn, I didn't even know that could happen. I didn't know that existed. But we give them that opportunity. Like I said, Kareem, appreciate everything that you're saying. I agree with everything that you're saying. I just come from a different flank on the situation to change the situation. And also, Kimberly, love you to death. You came out with some show on fire, and I appreciate that. But everything that you're saying rings true, and I appreciate that, and I give much love and respect to you. Thank as you know, a single mother, because I'm throwing Glenn out the picture. But even with Glenn, like he's an amazing man. So I being a dad, being a Black father is extremely hard, because you said it. 1, we're a target. 2, we're a threat, and 3, we have to continually provide through all that insanity. So we're always here to love, create, and protect, and that's what we're built to do.
I think the beauty of this podcast as well is that everyone's able to bring their different points of view and perspectives to the table, and ultimately let the listeners decide on what that step is for them. So D Black, let's go ahead and throw on to your point.
Sorry, last thing I have to say on that is just that you know, I mean, I think so. From my personal experience, you know, like primarily, you know, my mom was the one that was raising us. Like I said, my dad, he was a provider, and you know, that's the role that he was. And again, nothing wrong with that. I personally don't see anything wrong with that. But I think one thing that you mentioned, Chucky, you know, about your kids being better than you, but I don't know, we grew up in a lot of rough places. And I mean, even my mom, originally, she didn't want me to play football because she was always afraid I was going to get hurt or something like that. And one of my friends growing up, you know, he said, like, the job of a parent is to make sure that your kids just don't die, you know. And I never understood that until, you know, until you started like realizing like what it really means to be like, because it's funny, because I just grew up like, oh, I'm in the hood, you know, watching for the cops. And then when I started getting away from that, then I started realizing, wait, not everybody live like this. This is not how everybody lives. Like, not everybody's watching their back. Not everybody's having a certain, like, practicing their conversation when they get pulled over before the cop talks to them. Like, not everybody's doing that. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying about being better than you. And I understand what you're saying about, you know, your nature of wanting to be, you know, never stepping down. But, you know, ultimately, it kind of goes back to a conversation we had about, you know, taking risks. And, you know, a lot of parents are not, maybe just from my perspective, you know, are not going to be willing to want to take risks with their kids. Children. Yeah. And that's why when Kareem said that, you know, that we out, peace, I was like, you know what, bro, I'm on my way with you.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because not everybody's going to, because I mean, in order for there to be change, I agree, there has to be catalysts. We have many people in history that have done it. And that's why, you know, I appreciate them, our armed forces, I appreciate them, because not everybody can do it. But the main thing is that not everybody can do it. And it shouldn't be an expectation that everyone does do it, you know. So because you have to oh no, you're good. I'm just thinking that at the end of the day, you're gonna have to take a risk. And I don't know if you want to risk your kids. And I feel that.
So
go ahead, Kareem.
The illest thing that I've come across was it was a fellow by the name of Thomas Sewell. He's a conservative Black author or writer, whatever. And there was a guy, Robert Reich. He's a capitalist guy that used to work for Bill Clinton's administration. If you can even Google it. If you Google Black net worth hasn't increased since 1962. Just a fact. You can Google it yourself. So access to capital. I mean, again, we're living in in a capitalist society, and Black people haven't had access to capital like ever. So it was like, well, maybe until like 1987 or something. After they redid the redlining with the housing administration, that's like when Black people actually had access to capital. So that was what, 30 some odd years ago. But having that in the back of my mind and seeing the numbers behind of like the poverty rate versus the 60s until now for most Black families, nobody's really moved. So it's kind of like, you could, like you could stay here, and I think the saying goes, well, bang your head against the wall and think things are going to change, or you can just dip. And I know there's a lot of people that have like left the United States to raise their family somewhere else, and their kids choose to come back. That's like that option. But like, I mean, you're Black, and there's more people of color in the world globally. So you could be treated better. And I would hate, like, my biggest fear is having a conversation with my girls about maybe somebody pulling their hair or saying their hair feels like that's like the thing that sticks in the back of my mind. So it's like, I know women who've gone through that, and their parents who would talk about things that they've went through. And it's like, if I could dodge all of this and raise them in another completely environment that's not American, then I think I can at least give them a leg up on society in general, and they could be like worldly citizens rather than just American citizens.
Well, like if you protect them from it, this is like you're not really giving them a fair shake and opportunity. So, and that's my view on it. So if I'm like, oh, I'm going to run away from adversity, I'm going to run away from these problems so you can have a leg up. It's just like, well, that serves as a disadvantage, because when they handle heavy adversity, they really don't know how to react to it. So you can teach all you want, but we all know that having real life experience speaks more volumes than taking knowledge from somebody else. Like I said, some of us take up arms, some of us approach it in a more tactful manner.
Well, I can say this as well, so not to cut you, but I mean, we went through the cycle again, and it's just like, let's be real, race isn't the only problem in America either. You know what I mean?
I was gonna
there are issues with race as well, only because you have to wrap up soon.
Yeah,
so it's just
I'm gonna hit that point because another thing he talked about was capital and wealth, and the other thing to spin on that is just that the percentage that you were talking about, like the percentage of Black people in America, has that changed from the point that you're talking about to that point now. There are more white people in America than there are Black people, so sometimes the numbers can be skewed based off that information. So I would say, like, kind of pay attention to that as well, because you can paint a certain picture in your mind based off of the information you could tell to what you want. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but my thing is, like, I'm always going to hit or shine a light onto different avenues and different perspectives.
That's great. That's great. And like, again, beautiful thing about this podcast, everyone's able to bring their ideas and ideals forward, and we reflect on them, and everyone makes the best decision for them. So let's get into the finisher. We'll start off with our guest parent panel. What are some tips you would give to new, expecting, or upcoming parents? And we'll start off with Kimberly to get that finisher started.
There's no manual to parenthood, but one thing I will say, definitely communicate your needs, what's bothering you, your wants. That communication is definitely important. Definitely listen to your body, listen to your partner, ask for help. It's perfectly okay. And let's normalize having the conversation about postpartum depression, because that's real. There's definitely the negative connotation with that. And I definitely want to just put that out there. Postpartum depression is real. Have the conversation. Anxiety about having a child is perfectly normal. Talk about it. Talk to your healthcare professional. See a therapist. I love speaking to a therapist. I'm actually considering speaking to one myself. And I have spoken to a therapist for a few sessions. But yeah, definitely communicate with your partner. Find your tribe, find your village. There is no way parents can do this by themselves. You definitely need a village to raise a child. That's my takeaway.
Kareem?
My advice is, like, love your kids, man. Like, cry with them, like, be overly involved, dress up, get tea time, be overly involved with your kids. I think having those close relationships with your kids is probably the biggest blessing you could get as a human being, because you're impacting your offspring, or somebody to grow up, or somebody to be admired for or admired at. Like creating that legacy of like love. I mean, again, growing up as one of 4 boys, like we were taught to be tough and stern, and like don't take any crap and whatever. But over time, I'm realizing like that was probably not the illest approach. So it's like living in the moment, loving your kids, and dressing up or doing makeup time or tea time, like enjoy it all, man. Is the illest thing in the world. That's all I gotta say about it, man.
Chunky.
You're fucked. Whatever you know, you don't really know. And I say that out of love as a parent. Like, you can prepare all you want, but as Kimberly said, as Mrs. Sargent saying, do all the things that are amazing with your child. Those moments are going to go by quick. On the job training is where it's at. You're going to learn the hard way, but it's the best way. Keep trucking through it. If you're an amazing parent, you're going to be an amazing parent. If you're a shitty parent, start talking to people, start reaching out to your village, because they will assist you. That's the biggest thing I can echo from Kimberly. And I agree with Ms. Sargent, for the simple fact that lean on the people that are around you, because you're going to need that help and that assistance. Good luck. Godspeed. You got this.
All right. Thank you guys very much. And very insightful discussion. And as me, soon to be stepdad of the group, I can definitely relate and understand in that situation.
Uh-oh. You already popped the question?
What's that question? Was those 4 words? Where are we going from here? Or something like that? Where are we going?
I need to know where this is going.
There
it is.
Let's speak to it. So before we close, just wanted to extend a couple shout outs. First and foremost, of all of our listeners, especially those of you that are sending feedback our way. Just wanted to extend a huge thank you to you all. Your feedback is appreciated, no matter what platform you're listening on. Reviews, comments, feedbacks are always welcome. So definitely big up yourselves. And lastly, to the Free Reads Project, which is increasing the love of reading to children through mentoring. To find out how to support the Free Reads Project, check them out on Instagram at The Free Reads Project, or email them at thefreereadsproject@gmail.com. Now, for more podcast content or to learn where the next topic would be, check us out at JJC Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Our episodes drop every Wednesday, and stay tuned for the outro to learn additional ways to reach out to us and send us feedback. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. See you again next week. Peace, love, blessings, little more.
Peace.
Peace out.
Thank you, Kareem and Kimberly.
Peace. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And that concludes today's episode, but that doesn't mean the conversation has to end. As a matter of fact, feel free to check us out at JJC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for our post-discussion question following the release of this episode. If you are a Black or minority business owner or professional that would like to be featured on the Rep Yours segment of our show, or a listener with some general feedback for the podcast panel, feel free to shoot us an email at jjcpod@gmail.com. As always, likes and comments are always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe or follow to be notified when the next episode releases. And until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.